you're in New Zealand, you finally played your first gig?
Yeah.
First big proper gig.
Yeah.
How was Homegrown?
Dude, it was amazing. You know, we grew up on the shore, and so we've been lucky enough to spend the last 10 years overseas, touring around, and we've always had a dream of coming home and playing. And every year we tried to plan it previously, we would, you know, be touring for 11 months, and we'd have 1 month off to come home and see our friends and family here. And we were like, well, if we tour for that month and then go back to the States and tour for another 11 months, you're basically touring for 2 years without a break. So we used to just come home to visit people, but we never played here.
Yeah.
And to come home and play Homegrown was really like a big thing for us. And play with bands like She Had, you know, Blacklist, that we grew up listening to. So it was very cool.
So yeah, we do see on your Facebook timelines and all that, you guys are over here, and it has kind of made a lot of people jealous. How long do you think until you're going to be coming back again?
Well, we'd really love to make it a thing that we do every year. So we'd love to come home in the Kiwi summer and also leave the Northern Hemisphere winter.
Yeah.
Come down for a Kiwi summer and play here. So it's been something we've been building up to, but we'd really like to make it an annual thing for us.
Good, good. Alright, so you guys are quite well recognised over in the US.
Sometimes.
Well, you've got what? 5 top 40 singles now.
We just got our fifth one.
Just got your fifth
last
one.
week, actually. While we were home, Pure Evil went top 40, which is insane.
I would say that's pretty well recognised.
Well, we're very grateful for it, man. I mean, we grew up in Torbay, so to have our music on the radio in the States is really a very surreal thing.
So how's the reception different over here to overseas?
Well, you know, people say that it's always hardest to play your hometown, and I think what they mean is you go away and you play music and you come home and it's like now you're playing those songs for the people that you grew up with, you know, for your family, and it's almost like a juxtaposition. But we thought that playing Homegrown was amazing. That was our first New Zealand show in a long time, and it was just unbelievable. It really was. You know, it was something that we were really looking forward to. And in terms of coming back into the New Zealand music scene and playing with all these bands that we had really looked up to, it's about as good as it gets.
So did the family come down and visit?
They did. Our mum came down, our cousins came down, and actually we play in Auckland this Friday. And our grandpa's going to come, and he's 94 years old. So he's...
side of stage?
What's that?
Side of stage?
Well, you know, I keep telling him we can give him side of stage, and he says, no, I want to be down with the crowd. So if you come to the show and you see a 94-year-old man, please be gentle.
Alright, I'll keep that in mind. So you guys had to... well, I remember seeing an interview with TV3, I think it was, where you had to make a little didgeridoo.
Yeah. Yeah, Chris plays didgeridoo in our music, and he plays custom didgeridoos that are cut to be the key of our different songs. And the other thing is he started to play didgeridoos made out of plastic, largely because they're indestructible on the road. So a wooden didgeridoo, a traditional one, has a beeswax seal on it, which is really fragile. So you put that in the trailer with the guitars, you get it out at the second gig of the tour, and the beeswax is smashed off, and now you don't have a didgeridoo, you've just got a piece of wood. So Chris started making them out of plastic, but because they're so customized, when he came down here, he had to make them from scratch.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically we came down from Vegas, where we've been making our record, and the first thing Chris had to do was make some digits.
Was there much of a difference in music, really, from make a homemade PVC one?
They sound different. They sound different because tonally plastic is brighter than wood. Just like if you have an electric guitar made of plastic, it has a different sound. And what was really cool that we didn't expect is that a plastic didgeridoo actually fits better with guitars and drums because it has a brighter tone to it. So a wooden didgeridoo, which is an amazing sound, is quite a dark sound.
Yeah.
It's full, but it's dark. It's not particularly bright. So when you're making music and starting to layer different instruments, it's kind of like a puzzle. And we found that the plastic didges actually fit better with a rock band. So that was kind of a cool
Worked out well.
surprise. Yeah.
Nice. All right, so we've mentioned your latest single did quite well. Possibly going to do a lot better. We'll see.
It's you know what, it's a song that we wrote to sort of showcase the direction that we're going in, and so it's not even necessarily a song that I ever thought would be on the radio.
It does seem a bit heavier.
Yeah, we grew up listening to a lot of heavy music, and we also grew up listening to a lot of stuff like The Prodigy or Nine Inch Nails, where they combine these kind of atmospheric layers. And so for us, Pure Evil was combining these kind of metal influences with atmospheric textures. And I think that's something that we're going to look at doing more on the new album as well.
As well, like listening to some of your earlier stuff, I did notice a few influences with I could get a few Breaking Benjamin vibes, 3 Days Grace, Disturbed sort of thing. Do you find that your music is influenced by other bands you've performed with, or is it the other way around? Do you seek out those sort of bands, like you make music first and that's
I mean, we've been really fortunate. We've got to tour with a lot of bands that we grew up idolizing. You know, we got to tour with Slash, who I think for any guitar player is sort of God. The Alter Bridge guys are a huge source of inspiration for us. But I think more than that, we've just always wanted to make music that was sort of heavy and anthemic, but also melodic.
Yep.
And so each record we make, we're trying to find different ways of doing that. But we've always been drawn to music that had both melody and sort of a heavy, dark sound to it. Yeah.
So who else would you want to play with? Like what else have you guys got to do? You played with quite a few big hitters.
You know, I'll honestly say, as a New Zealander, one of the things I'm really looking forward to is this summer we're playing Download Festival in the UK, and Devilskin's playing the same stage as us.
Yep.
And we've hung out before in London, but we've never played together. So as two kind of Kiwi bands, I think that's going to be really cool.
Yeah, Kiwis taking over the Dog's Tooth stage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that'll be really awesome. Other than that, you know, we've been really fortunate. We've played with a lot of bands that we grew up listening to, or a lot of bands that we idolize now. A band I've always wanted to tour with for personal reasons is Tool. But I always say, like, I don't know that I'd want to be the band opening for Tool, because then the band after you is Tool.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I would want to put myself in that position. But personally, that's kind of a bucket list band for me. Yeah.
You never know, they are still working on an album.
Yes, yeah, they take their time. We've been lucky enough to meet those guys, which was enough, you know. We grew up as massive Tool fans. Adam Jones is one of my favourite guitar players. So just to meet those guys was enough. But if I was going to be greedy, I would say it'd be great to play with them too.
No, I'd agree with that. Oh, yeah. So going back to your didgeridoo, do you guys ever get, like, as is often the case with Kiwi things, do the Australians ever try to claim you as theirs?
Well, you know, we're just about to go to Australia with Alter Bridge, so I'll have to let you know. I will say that a lot of times people think that we're Australian, but, you know, probably because of our accents, and we do have a didgeridoo, so I could forgive people for looking at us and going, oh yeah, these guys have that kind of down under accent. And
Yeah.
But as far as whether Australians are trying to claim us, you know, I'll have to let you know.
So New Zealand rock acts in general, they do quite well in New Zealand. There's not too many of them, but quite often they'll have trouble when they go overseas. So you guys kind of skipped that whole trying to get huge here first. You just went straight overseas, didn't you?
Yeah, we had, I mean, you can't really predict the way things are going to go. So I can look in hindsight now and go, yeah, we just decided to go overseas. And it was more that we just had this dream of touring the world. You know, we are massive fans of New Zealand music. A lot of our favourite bands are Kiwi bands. But we would go to see shows like at the Power Station, and you know, it would be a band from America and then a band from the UK and bands from all around the world. And we thought, well, how awesome would it be to do the reverse? Imagine if a band from New Zealand got to go to America, got to go to the UK. And honestly, we just kind of threw ourselves in the deep end. So we moved up to Canada, and we sort of used that as our jumping off point in North America. But we didn't know anybody there. We had no business being there. And we moved to Canada and we started playing every show we could, which to start with are not glamorous. You know, you're playing like for 2 drunk guys and a homeless man on a Wednesday night kind of thing. And we built that up to headlining at this rock club in the weekend, and that led to us meeting some people in Los Angeles, where we sort of have been, our careers been largely focused in the US from that point onwards. So it wasn't like we sat in Torbay and went, okay, we're going to go to Canada and then the US, and then it's not like that. We just had this dream of playing music, and the way that it's worked out has meant that our music has kind of taken off overseas first. But it's really important to us as New Zealanders to play at home. So that's why it's such a special thing for us to come back and play things like Homegrown or play with Alter Bridge this Friday.
So you guys have got a lot of history with Alter Bridge, haven't you? You've played quite a few times.
Yeah, those guys have been amazing. I mean, honestly, I think probably half the touring we've ever done, we've either done with Alter Bridge or Creed, which is 3 of the same guys, or Slash, which Miles fronts, or Tremonti, which is Mark Tremonti's solo project. So we really do owe those guys a tremendous amount. And we're just massive fans of theirs. You know, they're a really inspiring group of dudes to be around. And as a band, to go on tour with them and see them play every night, I mean, it really makes you want to lift your game as much as you can. So, yeah, we love those guys.
So you guys gone beyond just being, you know, fellow bands? You guys good friends, great friends? You hang out?
We do hang out, yeah. I mean, they're awesome guys. You know, they really are. And to their credit, they've been awesome to us from the first time they met us. You know, now we have the benefit of a few years of history of playing together. But from the first time we met those guys, they were amazing to us. And at that point, that was opening for Creed in the States, and the guys in Creed were in Los Angeles making their reunion album, and we were making our first album, and we were just some band from New Zealand in LA. I mean, no one knew who we were.
Yeah.
The guys in Creed heard our songs and liked them, and they took us out on this massive arena tour of America. So those guys really gave us our start in the US. And even from the first time we met them then, they were awesome. You know, so I think they've been a real inspiration for us, not just musically, but also to show that people who've achieved so much can still be such grounded human beings.
Good to hear.
It makes a difference, eh? You know, you grow up and you idolize these people, and then you meet them and they're really cool dudes. So it's nice when it happens that way.
Do you know what product Chris uses in his hair? How does he keep it like that for the entire
This is
performance?
for you, right? This is a fan question, but you just want to find out for yourself. Chris uses a brand of hairspray that you can get for about $6 at the pharmacy called Got to Be Glue. And it's basically like sort of industrial grade plastic in a can. So yeah, what's the crazy thing about it is that when Chris wakes up in the morning, his hair looks exactly the same.
So does he have to buy this multiple times, or was it just a one-time application?
Yes, he used it once
Actually
6 years
good?
ago. No, he does take it with him. But it's it's a trial and error thing. He found this one hairspray that's unbelievably powerful. One of our favorite things on tour is that when we're out for a while with a band, one of the other guys in the other bands will always pluck up the courage to like try that hairspray, you know? And it's always like a something about Mary type thing where it's like it's so much more powerful than they realized that they walk around for the rest of the tour with their hair sort of sticking out like that.
That's crazy. I'm glad I asked that question.
So now, next time I see you, you'll have your hair spiked up. And,
Yeah, I would have made a mistake, used too much. It's been like that for years.
well, that's the trick, is you don't need as much as you think.
All right. So, do you guys have any guilty pleasures music-wise?
You know, I think the thing about a guilty pleasure is that you have to feel some guilt when you listen to it. So we listen to a really wide range of stuff. I don't know that we feel any shame about it. You know, we grew up listening to a ton of different stuff from our parents. They were really big into like the Beatles and Creedence Clearwater Revival and the Eagles. And then we got really into heavy music, but I think as musicians you kind of gravitate towards different genres, you know, so we play kind of heavy rock. But honestly, what I listen to is everywhere from black metal to like Joe Bonamassa, who's a blues guitarist, or even like contemporary jazz, just because I think that musically you're kind of drawn to stuff that's different. But we don't feel any guilt, so I don't know if that qualifies as a guilty pleasure. I think we just love different kinds of music. You know, I think there are good songs in every genre. You know, even on pop radio, there's always good songs. There's interesting production methods, and same with hip hop and everything. I think, you know, if you really love music, I think you can appreciate it in all its various forms.
So you guys do tour quite a lot.
We do, yeah.
Do you guys have any passions outside the music industry? Do you have time for anything else outside of playing?
My favourite thing to do when we come back from tour is to lock myself in my room and watch Netflix. I guess you could call that a passion. I mean, our life does kind of revolve around music, but it's because we're lucky enough to get to do what we love. So we are often recording and writing while we're on tour. So Pure Evil, which is the single that we just put out, we were finishing that song up while we were on tour in the States. So it got to the point where Chris and I weren't even going to sound check anymore. We were on the bus trying to get the song finished in time. Yeah. So I think it's kind of all encompassing, but it's because it's what we love to do. You know, for me, one of my hobbies is playing drums. Drums was sort of my first instrument, and now guitar is kind of what I do. But one of my sort of hobbies, every time I can, is if someone has a drum kit, I'll just disappear in there and play that. But music is really our lives, and we're really grateful that we're allowed to spend as much time playing music as we are.
So this album, Catacombs?
Catacombs.
Coming out in May?
It's coming out in May, plus a couple of months. Initially it was going to come out then. We got offered a couple of amazing tours that we didn't want to turn down. One of them was going to the UK and Europe with Alter Bridge at the end of last year, which was this insane arena tour that we got to play like the O2 in London, and you know, these kind of bucket list things that you just don't turn down. And the other one was coming here. We really wanted to come home, we wanted to play Homegrown and do this tour with Alter Bridge. And so every time you leave the studio, it pushes back the album a little bit. But it's actually been really cool to balance the two. So we played Homegrown at the start of March. We flew back to Vegas for 2 weeks. We've just been recording now. We got back into town 2 days ago. And then after the Australian tour, we go back to Vegas again. And so we'll finish up the record then. So it's a cool way to do it because the studio and playing live is so different. You know, it's almost hard to believe that it's the same job. They're so different. So to come and play live and to have the energy of that and then go back into recording and take that with you, I think that's a really cool thing. It puts you in a good headspace for writing music. So it means that the album's coming out slightly later, but I think it'll be a better record for it.
So with the album as well, you guys have got pre-orders and that going on, options to get your name in the album, signed copies, that sort of thing. Do you think it's the general direction of things with physical sales of CD things dropping? I think certainly the idea of a physical CD becoming more of a collector's item is it makes sense because you can consume music digitally now. You know, iTunes and Spotify or watching videos on YouTube. I think ultimately as an artist, it's great that people can consume your music digitally. It means that you can reach people in corners of the globe you've never even been to. But I definitely think that in terms of fans buying CDs and collectibles, I think that physical things are probably becoming more of a collectible or like a fan experience. But there's also a resurgence in vinyl. You know, there's like an interesting parallel where digital music is much more compressed and, I won't bore you with the details, but sounds very different. And then vinyl is sort of the opposite of that. So you have these two parallels where it's sort of cutting edge technology and then this kind of vintage technology, and they've both gotten more and more popular. So I think it shows that people are still interested in sonic quality and people are still interested in owning
something physical that they can hold.
And of course the vinyl is quite easy to get custom ones as well.
Yeah.
They're a lot more than a CD really.
Yeah.
All CDs look the same.
I mean, vinyl's so cool too. Even the fact that it's, you know, you have these massive booklets with all the artwork on it, and it's such a... Vinyl's like an experience.
Yeah.
And whereas, you know, digitally, that's almost convenience and just being able to kind of explode your music out to anyone with the internet. But certainly, I mean, I can see why people like vinyl, because it's a much truer representation of what that music actually sounds like.
Chaos Theory Part 1. When's Part 2 coming?
It's kind of like a riddle. Actually, what happened with Chaos Theory was something that we never expected, and it was amazing, which is Chaos Theory Part 1 was an EP that we made completely independently. We actually recorded it while we were out on tour in the States. So we would record it in hotel rooms and backstages, all these crazy places that you never think you'd be making a record. And we put that record out, and one of the songs from it, Love the Way You Hate Me, started to get played on the radio. It was never really released as a single, and at that point in time we weren't even signed in America. But a couple of radio stations started playing it, and it sort of took off organically. From that, we got offered the chance to turn Chaos Theory Part 1 into a full album, and then have that released in America and in the UK and Europe and here in New Zealand. And so Chaos Theory Part 1 became Awaken the Fire. But when we made Chaos Theory Part 1, we were always intending to make Part 2. It's just that it kind of took off in this amazing direction we never could have predicted. And so Awaken the Fire is, for lack of a better word, Chaos Theory Part 1 and Part 2 put together. They've been great questions, man. So thank you very much for talking.
Cheers for having a chat.
Thanks, man. Thank you, dude. That was great.